everybody. Welcome to the January 7th, 2026 Garrison Board of Education regular workshop meeting. Dusty, will you please call the roll?
Jocelyn Apicello.
Excused.
Eric Arnold.
Here.
Jennifer Harrington Wilson. Here. Dan Jasnow.
Here.
Peter Lesser.
Here.
Ken Schott.
Here.
Sarah Torme. Here.
Thank you. Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda for tonight? Hearing none, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accepts the agenda as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great. We will move on to item 3, which is the public hearing for the 2025-2026 amended district-wide safety plan. So as folks will remember, this is the second time that we have posted, and this will be our second hearing for the 25-26 district-wide safety plan. We have amended it. This is identical to the one that we reviewed in September, I believe, except that we have added the completed SPO contract and associated changes to the plan related to the SPO, as well as added our cardiac response plan. Anything else, Greg?
No, if you want, I can just go highlight for the community before the board discusses and the community discusses what we are. So when you're ready, I'd be happy to go through that.
That would be great. Please proceed.
Okay. So as Dan said, we had to reopen our district-wide safety plan for two specific reasons. One is the addition of the SPO, and once we have the contract, there are certain things that need to be put into the safety plan. One is language, and this was posted for over 30 days for public comment. We did not receive any public comment, Dusty, correct?
Correct.
And what we did is we put it on our website and we highlighted any of the changes in yellow. So if it wasn't in yellow, it's exactly the same as the plan that had been approved. And so these are the changes, and they're really simple. It's language to identify the SPO as a member of the building and district safety teams. It identifies the special patrol officer as part of the district safety and security system. And it includes a link to the SPO agreement that we have with the sheriff's office already approved by the board. And any of those changes were highlighted in yellow. The last piece is DESHA's law, which is by January 20th, 2026, all districts have to have a cardiac emergency response plan. Ours wasn't fully completed, the building level plan was, but we added, as our district-wide safety plan, Appendix G, which is our cardiac emergency response plan. The building plan is much more specific, and we already started our efforts. Nurse Melissa is kind of heading that team. We've already done training. We have a whole cardiac response plan in way more detail, which is private and protected, but that's part of our district, our building safety plan. But this adds it as part of our district-wide safety plan. And really the core requirements is you have to identify a CERT team, which we have done. You have to have CPR and AED training requirements met, which we've already done. We did that in our last superintendent's conference day. We need to have communication protocols, which we have in our building level safety plan. We have AED placement and maintenance. We already had that before. We're just writing it up in our building plan. Practice drills, we've done, I believe, one drill already, and we'll do more. And we actually, from that drill, I actually witnessed that drill, we actually made some improvements to our plan based upon response time and what happens if this person on the team can't get there. So it's really helpful to practice those things and then refine your plan based upon what you saw. So those are really the only changes in our district-wide safety plan.
Great, thank you, Greg. I also just want to emphasize that the SPO contract is linked, hyperlinked from the district-wide safety plan and is available on our website. And that's available for anybody in the community to
anybody can review it. It's right in the plan, it's linked, and what'll happen is that the board approves this plan tonight. We'll replace the old plan with this plan, take the highlights out, that hyperlink will be there, and so if anyone wants to see the contract with the sheriff's office is there.
Great. Any questions, comments on the safety plan?
Yeah, just one. So I read it, I think it looks really good, and I just wanted to raise a question for our conversation over email. I realize the safety plan is not the place to outline this, but I was hoping that we could just take a moment to discuss where we are in terms of outlining the actual specific roles and responsibilities of the SPO in terms of larger district safety. And the reason I raise it is because I've heard from a lot of members of the community that they feel safer with the SPO here, which is great. But I think what I would like to better understand, and what some other people have asked me, is what is the tangible impact? What is the value and impact that we're seeing based on the SPO's role and responsibilities? Because there's, as we discussed as we were deciding whether to hire an SPO, there's a difference between feeling safer and being safer. You might feel safer driving a car, you're actually safer flying a commercial airplane, right? So how are we tying, or can we tie what the SPO's daily job is to impact, and bring that sort of those two circles in the Venn diagram of feeling safer and being safer closer together?
That's a great question. I'm wondering if a better time to discuss it. During my superintendent's report, I'm going to go over the Hanover, the Hanover survey, and maybe that's that may dovetail nicely into the discussion, because you'll see one of the findings talks exactly about what you're saying. So I'm wondering if it's okay with you, Eric. I mean, I could give you some 30,000-foot bullet points now, or if you want to kind of dovetail it into the discussion of the findings of the report, you let me know.
Let's.
Okay.
I think that'll, having sat through that call with Peter too, I think it'll make more sense there.
I just wanted to compliment you. I really like the way you posted it on the website and the highlighting. Even though you didn't receive any comments, you made it really easy for people to know where the changes were and raise questions if they had. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, no one wants to read through the document and do a compare and contrast, so we just did that. So if there are any questions about what's different, it's pretty clear.
I second
You can make it a motion.
Any other questions from the board? Comments? Do we have any questions from the public? Okay, then I think we will go ahead and close the public hearing. All right. Moving on to item 4A, which is the superintendent's report. Dr. Stoll.
Thank you. And Eric, I promise we didn't punt it too far down the road.
I packed a lunch.
Well, you may not have time to eat. So the first part of my superintendent's report is I wanted to take the opportunity to, number one, thank the board for their thoughtfulness. Community members, when we were deliberating about onboarding an SPO, really had some questions and concerns about, well, how will you identify whether or not we should do this, shouldn't do this, what's the impact, is it all the things that Eric has said, or questions that were out there. So I wanted to just go over some of the high-level kind of findings and recommendations. As the community remembers, we contracted with the Hanover Research Group to conduct this survey. It happened in November. I want to thank Peter for spearheading it, and Sarah for being part of it, and really as board members kind of shepherding this process through. It's really important that you speak for the community, and your thoughts were part of this survey design, and I think this survey served us well. So number one is we have to start with research questions, and the research questions that we developed based upon all the feedback from our community, from concerns and thoughts from the board, were What are students, and we thought about if we're gonna survey students, we start grade 5, so they have a better understanding. So what are students at least grade 5 and above? Parents and staff perception on safety and school climate at Gulfs. Specifically, how do students, parents, and staff perceive safety and school climate given the presence of an SPO? And how do students and parents and staff perceive the role and effectiveness of the SPO in supporting a safe and supportive learning environment? This is where it stops working? There it is. I love that. So this survey was, as I said, it began online in 2025 in November using a Qualtrics online survey platform. We had 166 respondents. 72 of the respondents, the majority of the respondents, are students from grades 5 to 8. Krista Diego worked with them to fill out this survey. We had 34 staff members fill out the survey, and only 60 parents and guardians complete the survey. So, majority of our staff members, majority of our students, and 60 parents and guardians. So the key findings here are most staff respondents, 71%, are very or extremely familiar with the SPO role, and to your point, Eric, that's a lot more compared to parents and guardians. Only 40% had a clear understanding of what the role was, and only 17% of our students. So clearly, your concern, what you brought up, came out in the findings of the survey. And we'll talk a little bit at the end to answer that question of like some things we can do. All respondents groups expressed favorable views of the SBO. Those staff members, 100%, were favorable, and students, 90%, were more positive than parents and guardians, where 62% expressed favorable views of the SPO. All respondent groups, about 90% or more, report that they or their student feel safe at school, which is good. So people feel safe at school, going to and from school, and at school sponsored events, 89%. Additionally, very few respondents, only 6% has discussed or considered leaving the school because of safety concerns. So overall, the perceptions of safety is really strong here. A couple things I'll just highlight. I will post this report in our safety information website where the safety plan is, so the whole community can review the full report as well. But just in general, the perceptions of the SPO, the question was, please say how much you agree or disagree with the following statements about the SPO. And this is adding the percent that agree and the percent that strongly agree. So the perceptions of will an SPO support deterring safety issues from occurring. 87% of our students think that it will. 71% of our parents think that an SPO can support deterring a safety issue, and 97% of staff feel that way as well. In terms of promoting a safe and secure learning environment for students and staff, 90% of students feel that the SPO does that, 62% of parents and 100% of staff. When we talked about does the SPO proactively address school safety concerns, 85% of students say yeah, I think he does. 67% of parents and 100% of staff believe that way. And the SPO increases my confidence in the district's ability to handle safety concerns. 75% of students agreed with that statement or strongly agreed. 70% of parents did, and 97% of staff did. So overall, people's feeling about does the SPO help with safety concerns, the overwhelmingly majority of respondents said that's true. Feelings of safety overall due to school. Please say how much you agree or disagree with the following statements compared with last year. I feel my student is safer at school because of the SPO. 59% of students said yes, 43% of parents said yes, and 84% staff. There's a couple other key findings that aren't necessarily specifically related to the SPO, but overall school safety. And I wanted to share that with the community. Across all respondent groups, 85% agree that this school has the necessary equipment and infrastructure to keep everyone safe during school hours. So that's good, sizable majorities of students and parents, and nearly all staff express confidence that the school has adequate resources to help in the event of an emergency. So 75% of students say they have the adequate resources, 74% of parents and guardians, and staff much more so at 97%. And in terms of establishing a response plan that specifically outlines what to do, again, 78% of students felt positive that we do, 82% of parents, and 100% of staff. And sometimes those findings about do parents know what to do in a case of emergency, that can be because they're not privy to all of the training and all of the confidential plans that we have. So that's another area that we may have to just educate parents on what to do, like what their role is in emergency, and that was another outcome when we met with the folks from Hanover. So I won't belabor the point with everything, but these are pretty much the questions that went into the key findings. So overall, I think we're doing a good job with safety and security in terms of systems, in terms of keeping people safe. We'll continue to always work on it and always improve on it. So the recommendations are to, as you said, Eric, and I have a couple ideas that we can talk about and kick around and definitely do a better job at, but increase awareness and understanding of the role of the special patrol officer in the district. Communicate the positive perceptions. The other thing is we don't communicate how positive people feel about being safe. 94% of respondents say, like, yeah, I feel safe coming to school or going to school. That's not typical in a lot of districts where, you know, if you have 80 or 85%, that's good. But 94% of our students going to and from school, on the buses, you know, that's a pretty good, and I think we need to tout that. And it's a lot that we do with our SEL that promotes that. And I think we need to really tie that into school safety. We also implement a comprehensive school safety training and emergency procedures communication for students, staff, and parents. As you saw, our staff are like real well trained, they know exactly what to do. 100% of them reported like, we know what to do in an emergency. But our students, for the most part, are trained on what to do in fire drills, what to do in lockdowns, what to do on shelter in place, the whole shell protocol. But our parents don't necessarily know exactly what to do. And they don't need to know everything, and we don't need to publicize exactly what we do in a lockdown, but we need to do a better job at what should parents do if there was a lockdown? What should parents do if there was a reunification? Don't come running to the school, wait for me. So I think that's an area where we need to improve on. So, like I said earlier, I appreciate the board's willingness to go through the survey. I think the takeaways were and the findings were really enlightening, and I think we have a lot to work from here. So I'm happy to start with Eric's question, and you know, yes, the survey shows not a lot of parents and not a lot of students know exactly what it is. So I think there's a couple things we can do. One is I thought about doing with accompanying Q&As and maybe a one sheet, but doing a video of like getting to know Officer Bradley and just talk a little bit about what's your day like, what do you do, and do some Q&As with him, have some B-roll of him interacting with our students, and you know, most of you who drop off students in the morning, you see him, he's walking people across the street. We can talk about the safety enhancements that he does. We can also talk about, we had a situation this year where we had a student injured, and he was right to dispatch. He made sure that the response to that student being injured and needing an ambulance was actually, the time was really quick because of him being able to intervene and being able to call dispatch. And that's just a student safety issue and a student health issue. He was instrumental in that, and we can kind of highlight things like that. That's also part of his role. And we can also highlight what's not his role. Again, Officer Bradley does not get involved in discipline. Officer Bradley at all. Officer Bradley does not get involved in anything that has to do with the kids' academics. He does not get involved. He does not do crisis intervention, he does not do social emotional, he does not do like an SRO does, he does not do education. His role is safety, security, and also being a friendly face and interacting with the kids and making the kids feel safe, and the other things that he does. He's out at playground and watching the perimeter and does perimeter checks and makes sure doors are always secure. You know, if there was someone on the school grounds or there was an animal posing a risk, he would be able to be first line of defense in managing those situations. So your point is well taken. We definitely do need to do a good job. I think if we did a campaign of meet Officer Bradley, understand the role, do a slick, fun video with him, and maybe kids interviewing him, I think that may kind of demystify what an SPO does. But I'm happy to take any other suggestions that you think the community would appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is great. I think this was necessary research. I'm glad we did it. You know, I think it probably falls in the bucket of sentiment analysis more than anything, and I think the delta between what parents feel and what staff feel is where we've got to close the gap, right? So I think that the more proactive we can be with you know, with key members of the school community, the more we can do that. So maybe one of the ways too is with the class parents. So, you know, there's 8 of them, or 9 of them, I guess, if you include pre-K. So maybe the Meet Officer Bradley is an actual in-person meeting with all of them, and those people can then disseminate, you know, what his roles and responsibilities are. They can be conduits for questions and answers, because I think it's, you know, this kind of stuff generally works well when, you know, parents are hearing from other parents and who have a direct conduit. So as we talked about with other things where the things out in a newsletter or whatever, they're easy to ignore, right? So whereas if we have those face-to-face communications and, you know, one of those, you know, sort of open forum where, you know, people who are connected to the administration can ask those questions on behalf of their you know, the classmate parents, that might be one to go to. So yeah, I think the more we can close the gap between feeling and being safer, and the more we can close the gap on the delta on the sentiment between those 3 groups, the better.
And thank you for that idea. I think the class parents is a great one.
I think Hanover mentioned it. It's a little foggy now in my mind, but they mentioned too a little bit of lack of awareness on the parents' part about the staff around SEL and you know, student
You're right on.
yeah,
I
right.
remember that too.
So I'm just wondering, is there something there too? I mean, you know, is that an important thing to make parents more aware of the resources that we do have? And I know maybe I don't know if we're ready to talk about potential plans for the future with Sandy Hook Promise or whatever, but you know.
Yeah, I'm actually ready. Thank you for teeing it up, because we actually had a meeting with them today.
Okay. Yeah.
So what we talked about early on, we talked about like the SPO is one tool in your safety toolbox. Right? The other thing we talked about is we talked about SEL program, which we have a very strong SEL program. We did a whole presentation on it. But one of the things that we don't have is an anti-violence program, right? Like, and so we talked a little bit about exploring an anti-violence program, whatever it may be. We actually had a meeting today. Well, Krista had a meeting today. I've already been trained by them from Sandy Hook Promise, the Say Something program. And what Krista has decided to do is pilot it in conjunction with our health class in grades 6 and 7 this year, starting in the spring, to kind of look at, and really what this program does is it teaches adolescents to see the signs, the warning signs from peers, from others. It talks about making sure that you have a trusted adult, so you know you're not snitching on someone. If someone, and it could be hurting someone else, it could be hurting themselves. But what do you look for? How do you be upstander, not a bystander? So it's a whole training regimen of like knowing the signs, knowing that you can always go to a trusted adult, and it's a really, and I've seen this program and helped implement this program in another district. It's really helpful, and I think that's another piece that we're adding to it. So in terms of SEL, you know, our staff our staff feel pretty confident and our clinicians feel pretty confident in terms of emotional regulation, in terms of feelings of belonging, like those sorts of programs, Ruler and the Move This World and all those other programs we talked about. We feel pretty good that we're there. We could probably do, and as we always can, try to different ways to communicate those things with our community. But I think the added piece that we talked about very early on was we need to add an anti-violence program, particularly at the later grades, so that they can see the signs, because there's always what they call leakage before any incident happens with students with violence hurting themselves or hurting others. Is there are warning signs that are missed? And we don't have a program that directly teaches our students to look for us for that. And now we're going to pilot it and see if it's effective.
I think it's good too if they go to high school too, because they're probably going to get some of that in high school too, so they'll be familiar.
Yeah, and I will tell you, Peter, there's a great point. Not every district has that even for high school students. So like, it's not just because you go to high school, everybody has a program like this. Not everybody does. Some schools do, and some schools don't. But at least our kids will have a head start with that.
How long is the pilot period?
We're just exploring how many units and how many lessons there are, but Krista talked about, and she'll talk a little bit about it more when she's ready to launch, but sometime around March starting it, and starting with just our 6th and 7th grade. The challenge is to implement a whole system, curriculum, if you will, and try to infuse it into a health program. It takes a little bit of time. You got to learn it first, and so, you know, our thinking is, as we said from the beginning, this would typically be a middle school program. We'll start with 6 and 7, so, you know, Krista and Pat are the ones going to be implementing it. We got to give them time to implement. I don't think they can do all 3 grades at once. We'll do the 2 grades. We'll evaluate the effectiveness of the program. If we really like it and it's working, then we'll implement it the next year, grades 6 to 8.
Any other comments on the research?
Yes, so thank you for running the survey and everything. I read through the comments and the way they, I don't know if it's been sent to everybody, but the way they did the comments, the survey group, you could see if it was a parent, a staff member, or a student. And there seemed to be a disconnect, I think, what you're seeing in the numbers there between the staff and the parents, and in terms of really understanding what's happening. Because the staff and students go through these drills continuously, they really understand what happens in a lockdown, what that means. One of the most concerning notes I saw was a staff member who said that their students receive conflicting information from parents telling them to do one thing that disregards what the instruction is for the lockdown. So making sure that parents know basically, I know they can't know the details, but even if they just say, listen to the teacher in this, that's important. It's not important for you to do X, Y, and Z. I think that would be really good. Also, when we do the lockdowns, I know you send an email usually saying, all right, we did a lockdown today. I think we have to do that.
Yep.
There might be a way there to send something to parents and say, if this was an emergency, your role would have been X. So letting them know repeatedly that when a lockdown happens, if we do go into a lockdown and then we evacuate, the meetup point is indicated, if we can share that. I know we have plans for all of these things. So whatever you can share, sort of understanding, or even if it's as simple as, do not call the school. Whatever you do, don't come to the school, don't call the school. Leave the roadways open, things like that. So they get really familiar with where, in that moment when they're supposed to be doing it. Kids know, they've been going through it, but parents really don't. So that was the big
That's a smart
disconnect.
idea. I think saying the parent's role and your role, or however you want to frame it, and just making that really clear would be in each of those. It's just a short bulleted list.
Oh, wait, parents, everybody in.
Just a few
Thank you, audience.
would be great.
Yeah, and you know, that was enlightening to me, having done this for so many years. Like, you'd think someone would read through the safety plan, but the safety plan isn't directed at parents. This is your role in all these things. And I read through those comments too, though we're not going to share everybody's comments publicly, but I read through the comments too, not that we know who made the comments, but we know that the parent made a comment. Those things were enlightening. So, you know, I'm thinking a couple things. You know, one is sending something out about what's your role in an emergency, and just bullet points, just general, like, do not call the school, we use our communication system, do not come to the school. If there's a site that we need you to pick up your child, we will let you know what that site is, right? Like, those bullet points, that this is what you do in an emergency, I think is really critical and important, and we can share it. And what we can also do is, yes, we do let people know, we're gonna have a drill this week, once we have the drill, we let them know. We can just, a bullet point reminder every time, if this was a real fire, we wait for instructions, do not call the school, do not come to the school. Instructions will be forwarded to you about what to do, you know? Because it could be a real fire, but you know what? It's so small, we don't have, the fire department says we didn't have to evacuate the building and school can go on. Or it can be a huge fire and we need a reunification somewhere else, we're gonna move all the kids. But the worst thing that can happen is parents just flooding the school and coming here and first responders not being able to get through. So to me, that was enlightening. It's something certainly we can work on, that I can work on, send something out, and then we can just add it to our arsenal every time Allison sends out, or, you know, the lockdown is over, the shelter in place is over, the fire drill is over. Just a little reminder, remember, if this was a real situation, here are the things. I think those are great ideas, we can do that.
Greg, I think you should, the reasons you just gave are very important to include.
Yes.
As well.
Yep.
I also think is making sure, somehow communicating to parents that, you know, they need to listen to the teachers in these instances. The teachers know what they're doing, they've practiced for this, and they're trying to keep the entire class safe. So having one kid dart off to do something else endangers the group.
Yeah, and to your point, this is all research-based. We spend money, we are training the best practices. We purchase safety services through Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. You know, Frank and his team, Frank Luglieri and his team are the best in the business, and it's all research-based. It's what his first responders tell you are the best practices. And so I think it's also important to say, like, we're not just making this stuff up, right? This is standard practice based upon research, based upon revisions of years of research and actual situations. So yeah, we got a little bit of work to do in communication, from what an SPO is, what they do, how it makes us safer, to what should you do as a parent in the case of a real emergency. We have some work to do.
Just one final note on that. I mean, I think, you know, clearly there's some work to do. I think it's primarily on sort of a communications gap, you know, piece. What stuck out most to me about the Hanover research is that I think particularly for the people that are in this building on a daily basis, the overwhelming majority of people feel very safe.
Yes.
And I think that is, and very comfortable, and I think that's a testament both to the SPO that we were able to get, who I think, you know, has been a great addition to the school community and seems to have, you know, slotted right into the role and been, you know, really a positive addition. So I think we're very fortunate to have been able to find someone like that who fits so well with the community. I think it's also a testament to the fact that we were able to get an agreement that I think very much reflects the values of the community, that lays out in text the restrictions that you talked about in terms of not having the SPO involved in disciplinary issues, protecting student privacy, all those types of things. And then obviously I think, you know, we over the past year now collected quite a lot of data, done a lot of engagement with the community, from the task force, the pre-task force or mid-task force survey, the Hanover research, the direct communication we had with members of the community. I think, you know, has put us in a very strong place to lay a strong foundation for this program moving forward. Doesn't mean that, you know, we don't have more to do on the communications point. I think, and there always is an area where we can improve. But I do think, you know, in my mind, when you're talking about security, SEL, mental health, we are doing so much good work in this building already on those things. I think we are, particularly on the SEL front, where, you know, the school, the staff, the administration, you know, is doing a very good job on that. You know, we can communicate that message better, always, but, you know, I think at least as a parent, and I think for parents, you know, people should be assured that, you know, we have the right resources in place, even if we can supplement them. It's just a matter of making sure that people understand what those resources are and how they can access them.
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank this board and the community for supporting all the resources we have. This is, when you talk about how safe people feel in the school, I just don't mean physically safe, but emotionally safe too. You don't have that without strong SEL programs, without strong clinicians, without every teacher buying into the empathy, the integrity, the SEL, all the things that are laid out in our VOG. You don't have all of that. These things don't work in silos. So one of the recommendations too from this, as you said, is we also have to celebrate what we do well, because there's a lot we do well, right? We're focusing on the negative or where we could improve, which are valid and great points. But we should also spend as equal or more time talking about all the wonderful things that happen and really telling that. Because you walk through the hallways, as I do every day, you walk through classrooms, you're at arrival, you don't see as many smiling faces in a school district unless you have all of those other things you talk about there. And I want to thank the board and the community for really making that a priority. Good. Any other questions on the research? And again, we will post that this week so that any community member or anybody can kind of read the results of the report on the survey. So I want to welcome our entire community back to 2026. I hope everyone had a wonderful break. I know it was long. I can't tell you how many kids were like, actually most of them are happy to be here, a couple that weren't, but every single parent I spoke to was like, that was long, I'm glad they're taking it back. And I'm actually glad they were back. I was here a couple days over the break, and I will tell you that it's just not the same. When kids and staff are here, it's just so much more enjoyable to be here. But before we left, and we didn't get to share with the community, we had some wonderful, wonderful events that happened. We had a magical winter concert. The elementary band, and it never sounded better. Our chorus sounded great. Our jazz rock ensemble were just getting the place moving and dancing, and our middle school band was as great as it's always been. And we have a really wonderful performing arts team, and it's something to be really proud of. And we're really proud of our kids. They worked hard. They were excited, and we had a full house. One recommendation I have for next year is add more chairs. Add more chairs. And that's just a testament to family and friends and parents and guardians wanting to come see the wonderful things that our performing arts are doing. We had an incredible amount of festive celebrations, from designing things that were winter in theme to having our annual ice skating trip. It was kind of a magical lead up to the boat. So that's done, and we're ready for 2026. We're on the other side of the hill here, and we have a lot going on. So we're ready for 2026, but I want to thank all of our teachers, all of our staff for making the lead up to the break wonderful and magical. And here's what's happening. So we have our tall and small ball. I believe this year is here at 6 p.m. on the 16th. Looking forward to that. Schools are closed for MLK. We have our next board meeting on January 21st, and our international potluck dinner will be happening at January 29th here at 5 p.m. It's always a treat. And it was great last year. We have a couple ideas to make it even better this year thematically, and we're really looking forward to it. So that concludes my superintendent's report for this evening. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any other questions for Greg? All right. Moving on, board's president remarks. I will keep it very short. I just wanted to note that I had coffee this week with Penny Clements, the president of the Haldane board. No particular agenda. I had met previously with Barbara from Putnam Valley, but Peggy and I just talked about open communication, making sure that we are looking for ways that for the districts to cooperate more and figure out if there are other opportunities for us to share services in the manner that we're already doing. So we will, hopefully follow up with her about that. But it's a very nice coffee. All right, moving on to item. We don't have item board communications, right?
I left it on just in case something comes up.
So moving on to item 7, public comment. Public comment is intended for members of the community to speak openly and voice concerns. In accordance with policy 1510 of the Garrison Union Free School District, any person wishing to speak shall comply with all provisions of this policy. Comments about specific school personnel, or individual students is a violation of board policy. Concerns regarding students or personnel should be discussed privately with the superintendent or appropriate administrator. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to conduct themselves in a respectful manner. The board will listen to comments but will not engage in dialogue. Any necessary follow-up will be noted and provided through the appropriate channel. Members of the public wishing to comment during board meetings are asked to place their name and town of residence on the sign-in sheet. Commenters will be invited to the podium to address the board. Ned.
Good evening, Happy New Year. I'll be very brief. As some of you know, I've recently made my way onto the town board, and as such, I've been given a couple of assignments. Our first meeting is tomorrow night, but the assignments have already been doled out, and I've been asked to be a liaison between the town and the school board. So I'm here to announce my availability to you. If there are any ways we can work together, come to me. You're not precluded from talking with anybody else, of course, but I'm happy to be the first point of contact and help in any way I can, where we can collaborate, where our interests overlap. Wherever we can work together, I'm your guy.
Great.
Okay?
Thank
Great.
you. At the risk of violating our policy, I'll just say thank you for being here and appreciate it.
Great. Thanks.
Any other comments from the public? Okay. Moving on to item 8. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby accept the minutes of the regular workshop business meeting of December 10th, 2025 as presented. Any questions or comments on the minutes? May I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Moving on to item 9, acceptance of treasurer's report and claims audit report. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accepts the treasurer's report of November 2025 and the claims audit report for December 2025 as presented. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Any questions or comments on these reports? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Item 10. Second reading. This is our second reading and approval of policy 7420, which is the sports athletic program policy. We talked about this previously. The amendments pertain to our policy to potentially allow 8th graders to play up. Jen, you were not here for the first reading. Is there anything else you wanted to note about this one? Any questions about the policy? All right. Need a motion? May I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor of adoption?
Aye.
Opposed? Really not? Oh, sorry. Does say you need to go back and read the resolution.
If you want to.
Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item 11, personnel items. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, does hereby appoint Mackenzie Clark as a per diem substitute nurse for the 2025-2026 school year, as per the rate most recently established by the Board of Education. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just may want to let the board know and the community know, thank you, Board of Education, for increasing the rate of pay. To get a nurse on their days off to come and want to work for us. You know, it really, the $225 a day is really helpful. Mackenzie is an alum, which is always great, and it's great to see our alum wanting to come and give back. We're really excited. I met with Mackenzie. She's really excited to kind of give back to Garrison on her days off. Right now she works in a NICU, so she understands like how precious people's children are. So we're really excited. And I think the increase rate is working because I just got a call today about someone else, a nurse, that also is now interested in working here. And last time we posted, I mean, crickets. So thank you, Board of Education. This really helps with the safety and security and makes it advantageous to someone to either retire or on their days off and want to come and spend the day and help us out. So thank you and welcome, Mackenzie.
Yes, welcome to Mackenzie. I'm sure we would clone nurse Melissa and make her here every day if we could, but obviously this is the next best thing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Moving on to our new business items, item 12. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, hereby approves items B through D as presented. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. All right, and then Greg, did you want to speak to these individually?
Yeah, I just want to, number one, I see Ashley Rogers here. Thank you, President of the GSEP Board, but thank you to the entire GSEP Board. The incredible generosity and hard work to generate a donation of over $25,000 for grants that our teachers worked hard to improve the outcomes for students, to improve the experience for students. It's just remarkable when you have an education foundation like GSEP, you know, working so tirelessly to make these things happen. And I just want to take a moment to let the community know what GSEP has funded. They funded our community book read, which is really important in terms of our diversity and inclusion efforts, our continued work with the Garrison Arts Center for an experience that is unmatched, supporting new costumes and wardrobes for our Guff's musical. I can't wait to see it. Some classroom books. And this is actually a new one that came from one of our teachers. It's this prismatic magic laser light show. It's an assembly that is for all kids. They may break it up between the grade levels, but every kid in the district will have this really cool laser light assembly. I promise it's educational, but we're really excited to see what that's all about. Our Colonial Day again, our Transportation in Medieval Times, our Bronx Zoo trip. All of these things would not have happened if it wasn't for the efforts of GSEP and the generosity of the community. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts, the teachers' hearts, the kids' hearts, for this generous donation. We really thank you.
Yes, I would just echo that on behalf of the board. Thank you to GSEP. I want to go to Medieval Times as well.
One of your churches
that
that
afford an option on that. That's great. But yes, thank you to GSEP for everything you guys are doing continuously. Any other of the items that we need to meet through D? So item C is the district-wide safety plan, which we just talked about, and then budget transfer. Joe, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, that's just to cover the cost of the mural list. That was originally supposed to be part of last year's budget, but it didn't get done in time, so it had to be reappropriated to this year's budget.
Great.
I just don't think I can vote on.
Yeah, we're going to do that one separately. So item E will be next. So this vote, unless there are any other questions or comments on B through D. So this vote will just be items B, C, and D of the business. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Great. Moving on to item E of new business, which is the request for approval of awarded bids. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the following resolution for the awarded bids. Whereas the Garrison Union Free School District Board of Education approved a resolution on October 1st, 2024 to access obsolete or unusable district equipment, and whereas a bid notice was placed in the district's official newspapers, Westchester Journal News on November 26, 2025, and Putnam County News and Recorder on November 25th, 2025, for the receipt of bids for a Dodge Caravan, Ford F-350, $350, table saw, iPad charging cabinets, and air conditioners. And whereas the school business administrator conducted the bid opening on December 16th, 2025 at 2 p.m. and received the following bids. Do I need to read the bids? Dodge Caravan, $300 from Michael Anito. Ford F-350, $300 from Michael Anito. Table saw, $25 from Genevieve Mulhare. 3 iPad charging cabinets, $10 each from Jennifer Heritage Wilson. And further, that the district received no additional bids for the items advertised in the bid notice. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the award of bids to Michael Anito, Genevieve Mulhare, and Jennifer Heritage Wilson as described in this resolution. May I have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to our second public comment session. Which I will skip. Okay, that's okay. Okay. Moving on to board member comments or other discussion. Eric, you're first up.
I'm good.
Jen?
I was very pleased to be able to attend the winter concert. I was utterly impressed by our students, but also by the fact that the best was behind the sound guy. For those of you that don't know, she has that talent. And just a thank you to Lisa.
Great. Nothing from me. Pete? Sarah?
Just a thank you to GSAC, and I'm sure they have a date for their spring thaw, which is their big upcoming fundraiser, which is going to raise all the money for that $25,000 in grants. So hopefully we can find out what that is and share it as well. It is out.
Great idea. All right, we do have executive session tonight. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby enters into executive session for the purpose of reviewing probationary instructional staff and discussing the mid-year evaluation of the superintendent. Do I have a motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We will adjourn the meeting without any further action taken. Thank you.
How are you? Happy New Year.
No.
Thanks, Ed.
Having a coffee.
When you send it? Oh, just now. I just trying to see if I can borrow your picture. Sure.
Special treats.
Probably a deeper discussion than.
Are those